going to compliment you the entire time. He might be a little fresh.
The keystone in the arch of Star Wars.
It's a show that I dearly love and admire, so thanks for having me.
Sorry, I'm getting like emotional.
And you got this hulking, scary dude with the big nose and the perfect hair.
I understand. This is a safe space. This is a safe space between you and I and all of your viewers.
Cassie and Jim on the beach, and people are like, no. I can literally hear people out there, no.
Rogue One was awesome. I love the Han Solo movie, and then, of course, I love The Mandalorian.
And like getting to talk to fans face to face and learn their names and just, get to hear their stories.
And the world of Star Wars, there's a bunch of people who look different, and are different species. There's lizard men, there's psychic baby swamp monsters.
I joke that the best thing about writing Princess Leia is everybody knows who she is, and the worst thing about writing Princess Leia is everyone knows who she is.
And also you get Ewoks, and I am definitely a lover of Ewoks.
You're listening to Around the Galaxy.
Yes, it's a good thing. It's a great thing.
Well, welcome to Around the Galaxy, the Star Wars fan talk show. I'm your host, Pete Fletzer. A rare live version of the show tonight. We're going to be hanging out with Cam Ray. For those of you who may not know who Cam is, well, we'll get to know him a little bit later. I like to say he's kind of the he's the Weird Al Yankovic of Star Wars, if there wasn't already a Weird Al Yankovic of Star Wars. He's a funny guy to hang out with, and I'm really excited because I don't think I've spent more any real one-on-one time with him. So I'm excited to share that with you when we do it. For those of you who may not know, we do have a Patreon program, so you can join us every single week when we do these shows. Ordinarily, they're done just as Patreon exclusives when we do these shows, and what we do is we pay attention to some of the comments and things going on in the background, and we try to bring them up onto the show during the show so that you can be a part of the show. And it's only about $3 a month. That's the low end, and you can even at the entry tier, you can come on in and be a part of the program. So coming up, we are going to be talking a bit about sorry, I'm getting a text. We may be having some technical difficulties here with one of our guest, but we'll see. We'll hope that works out all right. But either way, it's going to be worth hanging out with us tonight. Who do we have here tonight? Let me take a quick look. I haven't done one of these live shows in a while, so I haven't had the opportunity to kind of dig through. We got the Science Fictionary. We have Podcast of the Wills, which is Nick. We got JD Sleesman here. We have Michael Nip. Michael, how are you? Nissa Urso, Mr. Rez. We got a great group of people hanging out with us, and hopefully we'll be able to bring Cam in here in just a moment. I'm looking here, and he seems to be having a little bit of technical difficulty. Hey, while we wait, throw up a question. Why don't we have a little conversation here as we prepare for our live event with Mr. Cam Ray. So let me just say, we're gonna see if he's there. Hold on one second. Nope, he's got no devices connected. He seems to be having a little bit of an issue there. So yeah, I'm excited to be able to bring you a live show because this kind of stuff can happen whenever you're not ready. We get some of the challenges. We may actually have him there. I see him coming in the back there. So why don't I bring in Cam Ray now?
Yeah, it's best that you just let him finish. Let him finish.
Cam.
Oh, hey, Pete. How's it going, buddy?
How's it going?
All right. Wait,
what's
is
up,
tonight
man?
the show?
Tonight's the show. I figured it might be cool if you wanted to hang out with us, and we could do a little.
Yeah, sure. I was just in my lounging gear, but that's okay. It's not videoed, so we're good.
Yeah, no, there's no video. You can.
Okay,
people don't need to know that you're not wearing pants right now.
Right.
I think it should be fine.
Okay, I'll remain seated.
Yeah, just do me that one little favor. It's Cam. How are you, man? It's really good to finally get to kind of spend some one-on-one time with you. I've been on a couple shows with you. We both were on the Good Morning America thing from May the 4th earlier this year. It was very cool. We're the two people that got our questions to Dave Filoni. But Cam, for people who don't know you, maybe give us a little bit of your background. Tell us a little bit about you and how you got into Star Wars, man.
Well, I was actually born in another galaxy. It's a long story there. I don't want to get into all the alien rumors and all of that. There's some cloning involved as well as of late, but I'm not going to get into that either. But the story I usually tell people, just to avoid awkward moments like this, is I was born in 1979, so right in the middle of the OT emergence, and so while I don't remember getting into Star Wars, I just remember Star Wars always being, and so and a lot of people that are like you or me. I mean, you're what several. I mean, never mind. years my elder.
I'm a handful of years older. Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Just a handful, a dozen or two. And so, so I don't remember getting into it, but what I do remember is having all the lightsabers and my favorite play set was was Jabba's palace. So Return of the Jedi was the real, that's where I was really into it. And that was the time where, I was just the toys. I remember opening up a TIE fighter. I remember using that and just playing in the yard, either at my parents or my grandparents, and just destroying everything, because there wasn't saving it to put up on a shelf or anything like that.
Right.
Oh man, I had a big R2D2 toy chest at my grandparents that I kept all my toys in, and I need one now, I guess, because I never thought I would start collecting toys again, but now I'm kind of getting there. But yeah, so it's always been something that I've been into. I've always loved Star Wars. I know one year I was C-3PO one year for Halloween. One year I was an Ewok. So it's just been part of my life. And so that's kind of how it started.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting too, because one of the things that we've talked a lot about on the show lately is just like you were saying, the sort of adults collecting toys or just wanting to find a part of that universe and be into it. Now you were a fan, during sort of the height of you. It makes sense that Return of the Jedi was kind of the one that stuck with you. I mean, you were kind of prime age there, but did you kind of walk away from Star Wars for a while when it was gone between the prequels, or before the prequels, or did you stick with the books, or did it kind of become the dark times, as people called it?
Right. Now I don't remember dark times, but I'm sure there was a period. But I was always into Star Wars because we always had the VHS tapes and the eventually the DVDs and all that. And I remember when the special editions came out, I was excited about it. I loved it. I didn't know anything about all the, complaining about adding this or that at the time. Right. I thought it was awesome. I still think it's great, because that's kind of what George did. He was always like on that cutting edge. So I love that, always looking back, you can be like, that's, doesn't look good to our standards. But yeah, I didn't ever get into the books. I had a thing where I hated reading until probably after college. I'm not sure how I got through college without reading a book, but somehow I did it. I don't know. But no, I didn't really care. So I didn't get into the books. Now I'm really getting into the books. So I feel like I've got a lot of catching up to do, but I know I was in college when the prequels came out, and the second I heard, that Star Wars was back, myself and my buddies, we were all in. I mean, we were writing songs about it. We were I had a hyperspace account through all of that. I'd get home from school and I'd log on to see if I could see someone, catch George or a janitor sweeping up the green screen floor or whatever. So yeah, I mean, as soon as there was more Star Wars, I was there. So
yeah. So you were like kind of you've been doing the digital side of Star Wars then for quite some time. You've been, I mean, that you could go back and call that hyperspace stuff some of the earliest social media engagement for Star Wars, I guess.
Oh yeah, I was totally into it. So I did all of that, and then of course the episode 1 racer wore that thing out. So
I still think that as much as I love things like Jedi Fallen Order and
Mhm.
and those games, those prequel era games were just they were amazing. They were they kind of captured the best that the systems could do at the time, and they were just
Right.
they were wild. Now you said you made an allusion to it, but you said that you were writing songs about Star Wars and things like that. So you're a musician. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I guess when I was 6, I started taking piano lessons. I always wanted to, so it wasn't, something where I was being forced to do that. And then at about age 12, I started playing at my church every week. Kind of grew up. I still play at church every week, so I've been doing that for forever. But then I got into jazz music. Like, because my grandparents were always playing like Lawrence Welk and all the big band stuff and all. So I always listened to like Sinatra and that kind of stuff. I really liked it. So I got into jazz, and then in high school I was playing jazz, and then I ended up going to college and majoring in jazz piano performance, which, that'll get you places.
Yeah.
Mostly on YouTube, writing stupid songs about Star Wars. But no, so I've always been in music. And it's kind of what I've always done. When I guess 14 is when I first started playing gigs and playing around restaurants and bars and whatnot. And so it's kind of, but I've always on the side, been making films and doing goofy stuff on that end, whether in plays or I know when I was a kid, I don't even know how they did this, but it was a camcorder, but it used
we have a little bit
only, but onto the audio cassette tapes. And so I would do all kinds of crazy special effects films and things. And so kind of combining it all.
It looks like you're doing one now on the screen.
Oh no, is Max Headroom back? Oh, guys, I'm so sorry.
No, it's all right. Hey, it's the internet. It happens. Yeah, I'm just glad that I'm able to talk to you at all. So, so you've always been kind of into performance. How have you for those that may not know, tell us how you've kind of taken that and brought that to your Star Wars fandom?
Well, I guess, I'm trying to think when it was, but I started listening to several podcasts about Star Wars a long time ago. And then I would hear kind of calls to like, they would mention Twitter and they're like, oh, sign up on Twitter, this or that. And I would kind of ignore it because I would just use it on the way to and from gigs in the car. Because, when you're playing music all the time, I don't know, at least for me, I didn't want to listen to music after you've been playing music. I wanted to listen to some sort of talk, some sort of podcast. And so I was like, hey, I wonder if there's, Star Wars podcasts out there. So, and then I kept hearing stuff about Twitter. And then, so finally I'm like, well, let me go ahead and hop on Twitter. I had a Twitter account that I'd made when it first came out. That's probably the only reason I have my handle. And so then I jumped on and just kind of started interacting a little bit. And then, one thing leads to another. You discover other podcasts. You were one of the first ones that I discovered after I'd gotten on Twitter. And so then realized, oh, there's this whole culture, on here. And then one thing led to another. And like, hey, I could maybe, do some of the stuff that I always do just for fun and maybe post it out there for people to see. I've always wanted to play Michael Scott on a new Office, a new Office sitcom or something like that. So I love those kind of roles. So it's like, well, maybe I can just be the Twitter idiot and see where that takes me. So.
I gotta sort of dig in a little bit. How much you have such a unique you have this ability that I think, even though people hide behind sort of a Twitter persona sometimes, you have this really unique ability to just put it out there. And like, and one way to say it is like, wow, where's he going? What's he doing with this? But
are you asking me to stand up right now, Pete?
No. No, we talked about it. You don't have pants on. We don't.
Okay, sorry.
But
it was getting later,
yeah, well, maybe later on in the show we'll just set the warning up. We'll be fine. Luckily, I'm not monetized on YouTube, so it doesn't matter. Nobody cares. But like you have, what is it? how are you able to just be like, you know what, this is the craziest idea? I mean, you've done like Frank Sinatra impressions. You've got multiple characters. You have, of course, Bub, your Kowakian monkey lizard emperor wannabe. You have your clone sort of skits and things like that. But how do you just like, you're just like, you know what, I'm just doing this? Is it because it's Twitter, because it's anonymous, or have you always been that guy?
It's called ADD. And no, yeah, I like performing. So, and what's weird is, if I think it's like most people who like to do comedy, or I prefer comedy, but also I'd love to do serious acting too. But I think, like just, if I'm just being serious, a lot of times I can be too serious. And that's why I'm like, hopefully, I have to make a joke to lighten things up, because then I can just get I have those moments where I can just be very serious and kind of internal and all of that. And so, but I love to perform. And so if there's a stage, or if there's a camera, or if I can create something and perform and be a character, I've just always kind of been okay with that kind of transitioning. I know in college we would do crazy. I mean, everybody did crazy stuff, I guess, but we would do, I mean, it just, I wouldn't mind getting embarrassed in public, and so do things where like at a restaurant, and like, okay, when I come back from the bathroom, I'm going to see how many tables and chairs I can pull down with me as I fall to the ground. But then I would stay in character as if I actually fell and was hurt a little bit, because then it's, if you don't do that, they think you're being, then you're in trouble. But if you accidentally fell for real, then they're like, oh my gosh, I feel so bad. But you've taken along food with you, and maybe several old ladies. No, just kidding. No old ladies were ever, well, actually there was one time, but I won't get into that. But yeah, and so
still in court,
but I would just straight face it, and then kind of sit there for a minute. But so stuff, I don't know, it's like, if I'm playing a character, I love it. So while I'm do all these characters, I also am, it's kind of tough though, because then I feel like, oh no, someone's gonna think I'm a jerk, because sometimes I always say I'm not a jerk in real life, but I play one on Twitter. And so, and that comes from just all the drama that you see on there. And so I'm like, oh man, here's another scandal, or another, it's like somebody's fighting about, a fictional science story, or a fictional space story.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, let me create a fake drama, just kind of like reflecting on how silly it really is. So
it's a good way to do it. And you've created, like I said, a couple different sort of. In fact, Bub was asked, was part of the question to Dave Filoni, which is, the funny thing is, I love this, because I feel like our Twitter sort of echo chamber is fairly confined, fairly small, and so for 99.9% of the people who saw that on Good Morning America, it's some goofy guy who's got a puppet of that thing from Jabba's palace.
Right.
But I'm sitting there like, Bub made it on Good Morning America. It's amazing. It's ridiculous.
Well, and that was my evil. I mean, my master plan. I mean, seriously. I mean, it's like, obviously there's a balance. It's like, yeah, I would love to, have some opportunities like that. But at the same time, I'm just glad that I have any that I have. But I was, I saw the post from Good Morning America, and I'm like, how could I get on Good Morning America? So I'm like, there's got to be a gimmick, you had like the really good, deep Star Wars question. And I'm like, okay, there's going to be a lot of those. So so then I was in the line at the pharmacy to get something. And so my son's in there, and side note, he helps with a lot of this stuff. So that's probably why a lot of it's on a 13-year-old level. But no, but so I'll bounce stuff off of him. He's like, no, but what about this? What about that? But
Dad, more fart jokes. We need
yeah. For me, I love that song. I wish I could come up with like a Star Wars, something that rhymes with me. And he's like, Shmi. I'm like, oh yeah. Well, I'll take credit for that. Thank you. You're a minor, so you can't.
What are you assuming? I'm your dad.
You want food and board? But so I wrote a little quick script, came home, recorded it real quick, overdubbed the Bub voice in there, and then obviously I thought, oh, it would be so cool if I got on, but never dreamed it would happen. And then even when we were on the chat, I see all these people, you're on there, and a lot of other people that I know, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well, at least I'm on the little jumbotron thing, and then you pop up with your question. So I'm like, oh, I'm definitely out because I know Pete. What are the chances that Pete asked and then I'm going to be the second question, and then it popped up. I was like, what?
It was so cool.
Yeah.
How did it feel seeing Dave Filoni like kind of chuckle at your little character there that you've brought to life?
It was pretty awesome, to be besties with him now because of that. It's really awesome. It's just I remember that. I always go back to that time. Had that conversation on May 4th with Dave. No, but no,
He's
it was
coming
great.
over for the holidays, I'm sure.
Right. And then Bub made that little video showing, hey, Dave laughed at me, so now I'm canon. Because George approves of Bub, and so anyway. But no, it was pretty surreal. I was at my sister's house. We were visiting family, so we had the whole setup, and of course, everybody else, my whole family's making fun of me because I'm the Star Wars guy. Everybody else is like, "Oh, Star Wars is cool."
Right. Yeah,
like, is that the Spock one? So, but
that's funny. Well, I think first of all, and you said it in some tweets leading up to the show today that it is important to laugh and have fun with this. What are some of your? Let me rephrase that. So many people take Star Wars so seriously. Again, in this echo chamber, this Twitter bubble, there are so many things. There's the actuallys that come out, and the so intense about what is correct and isn't correct in this fictional universe. As a fan of the saga, do you, and as somebody who puts comedy first is the way you think about things, do you think about the funny moments in Star Wars first when you think of Star Wars, or what role does comedy play in the films for you, in the shows?
Yeah, I guess I don't. That's probably not the first thing I think of, but I think that's what we all kind of most of us gravitated towards Star Wars as children, and so I know that was the first thing that probably originally caught me. Was the C-3PO and R2, that their banter. I think that's probably one of my favorites. As the two of them, just the idea that R2, we never hear what he's saying, but then C-3PO, how he's like, I can't believe you would say that. He's like, like what a sarcastic little jerk, And although R2 is awesome, he's probably my favorite droid. But I love those moments. I love anything Harrison Ford does. He's so good with that timing. A lot of it's him, just him adding that in. But the Carrie Fisher, her delivery is great. So I love the cheesiness of it, but there's a certain, it's such a fine line, where it's, people call out like the mom jokes in The Last Jedi, and I'm not getting on any kind of a Last Jedi thing because I love it just as much as I love the other ones. I don't get into all the, this one's terrible, this one's not. But that one didn't land as well for me at first. I was kind of like, it's a little pushing a little bit on modern humor. But then again, when did those movies come out? And so I kind of wonder, what would George have done with movies in this time period? Maybe he would have kept it the same humor from the late 70s, early 80s. But I think Star Wars also has to grow with each, because people are, and you've talked about this a lot, on past shows and all, but people enter it at different points, like my daughter loves, some of the like the animated series, but then she loves the original trilogy too. But then like my son really likes Rebels, and so, and the sequels. So it really just, where is that person entering? So, but yeah, I think there's a certain type of humor for Star Wars. It's borderline cheesy, but I don't know where I'm heading with that, but it's probably not the first thing I think of, but I love to make fun of it.
Yeah. What do you think is, if you had to pick sort of and you don't have to pick, but as the interviewer, I'm asking you to pick the sort of a favorite funny moment in Star Wars. And you referenced like the Hux, your mom joke, which was, yes, I agree. It kind of was, it certainly felt a little bit out of character for Star Wars, but it seemed to work. We need to remember that Star Wars has everything from, this really dry humor to fart jokes and everything in between. And it works because you have this enormous universe to deal with. But so with your sense of humor, what's kind of some of your favorite funny moments from the saga?
Oh gosh. I do like aren't you short for Stormtrooper? I love her delivery of that. Like I said, a lot of the lines that they deliver, like the who's scruffy looking. I just love those moments. Just the lines, the delivery of them. I'm trying to think. I didn't mind Jar Jar. I know there's a whole lot of Jar Jar, whatever, but I guess even when I watched it in college, I didn't mind him that much. I saw him as, oh, he's this version's or this era's like comic relief. I like Salacious Rum, Salacious Crumb. See, so he's like, that's where Bub came from. We're kind of going back and forth, and then started doing the monkey lizard deal. But yeah, Salacious Crumb, I love just that. Just those kind of characters, like the funky, like he's just laughing, but there's just something about it. The Muppet, bringing the Muppets in. I say Muppets, but
right. Jim Henson Creations.
Jim Henson Creations.
Right.
Sorry.
Right.
Love the Miss Piggy scene.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I love Poe's deliveries in general, and that's where we're talking about the mama joke and the whole. So who talks first? You talk first. I talk first. That whole, man, it's great, and I think that delivery was great, and the mom thing. Like, I think it was pulled off because it was Poe.
Right.
I think it kind of worked. So,
no, I think you're right. I think that was one of my favorite parts of The Force Awakens, which, here we are, we're back in the Star Wars universe for the first time in however many years, 20 years, and almost 20 years, 15 years. And that joke that interaction with Kylo was perfect because, I think when we think about Force Awakens, and I think one of the biggest sort of critiques of Force Awakens is that it was a very much a beat for beat retelling of A New Hope, and you can't it's hard to argue that, and I don't disagree. And I also kind of feel like J.J. Abrams is terrific at rebooting series. His first Star Trek movie was a great reboot of that saga, of that era, and Star Wars was the same thing. And Poe was very much Princess Leia facing Vader. Like, they march up this young woman who back in the 70s, right? It was damsel in distress. And instead of the, oh, don't hurt me, Lord Vader, it was, what you've got a lot of nerve. Right. It was really a very interesting, and it humanizes the masked villain in a way. And I think that's where Star Wars uses humor best, is it breaks up a moment, and it makes you kind of look into the story a little bit differently. And that's one of those things just as important as the spaceships that look like they've been beat up and the buildings that are in need of repair. It's lived in because it's not all dramatic. It's fun. It's a fun place to play.
No, I totally agree.
So we have a question here from the chat. It's from Michael Nip, and he said he'd love to know some of your comedic influences. Who's your favorite comedian?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I like, well, growing up, I really liked Jim Carrey. So I like Jim Carrey. I like, but I also like Bob Newhart. If we're talking about older ones, probably my all-time favorite comedian is Dick Van Dyke. I just think, man, the physical comedy and he's like one of those classic comedians. He's got the timing. He's just got it down. I love his expressions and his physical. The Dick Van Dyke Show is probably one of my favorite. What is that called? Sitcoms of all time. But then later on, Jim Carrey, Robin Williams. I'm trying to think who else. I liked Bill Cosby's humor back in the day. Clarify.
Right.
The
you
old records.
Super clear about
the records of the comedic material that was presented in front of a live audience. Let me think. So I'm trying to think who. Oh man, I could go on and on. I love Mel Brooks. Anything he does, I love that style. Get Smart is also one of my favorite like that whole like just the Naked Gun series. I think
Yeah.
Leslie Nielsen, man, awesome in that.
Yeah.
I love that whole kind of the straight guy, but also the comic relief at the same time. That kind of
Yep.
role. It's like anyway. So
Well,
I'm sure I'll come up with more.
Well, I mean, the Newhart connection. I can't believe I'm doing a Star Wars podcast and we're talking Bob Newhart, but I am with you. Bob Newhart was what my dad played me those old records when I was a kid.
Oh
So,
man.
like the Button Down Mind and things like that, and that sort of character creation without the character, I think, plays into some of the stuff that you do. I think. I mean, you know, your Bub character is it's like having the voice that Bob Newhart was responding to, right? For those that aren't familiar with Newhart, his style was to sort of be the one side of the phone conversation you heard, or you only heard his response. And so you get this great opportunity. And look, for those that listen to my show, you know, I have my battle droid at the beginning of the show does the reviews. I have him sitting right over here. But it's fun to be able to, I think, as an actor or as somebody who's interested in performing, it's a certain sort of excitement to try to create both sides of that conversation. And I think that that's kind of one of the things that you've been able to do there. And at the same time, you're writing and creating music that's really, really funny and parodies and that sort of thing. What were you into Weird Al at all? And have you?
Yeah, I was just gonna say I was talking about comedians, but then when we're talking musical comedy, Weird Al, I mean, I wore out all of those CDs when they would come out growing up. It was on constant repeat. And so, yes, Weird Al I call him like my musical comedy idol. So like, I would like to be Weird Al when I grow up. So definitely I love what he does.
It's great. Well, this might be a good time to play your new song. Speaking of song parodies, so before we play it, you were talking before about how there is always this sort of, I'm going to call it goofy controversy, and I say that recognizing that people take it way too seriously, right? It's not. It's controversy about either about plot points or a film itself, or controversy about a lot of the behind the scenes things, and you seem to just address it head on. Whether it's was the character was it Mac Nada? Did I get that right?
Mac Nada, yeah,
yes, which was just like it was a mockery of the YouTube channel guys. And you recently took on some of the Kathleen Kennedy stuff. Do you want to set up the song before I play it, or?
Yeah, sure. And I'll kind of let you into the way I come up with these things, or my ADD mind, because it's not as deep as I would like to make it seem. I was actually I play gigs for a living, and so I was just playing piano one night, and one of the songs I like to play is the song "No Diggity" by Blackstreet, and so I was kind of playing that song, and it just kind of came to me because I'm always, squirrel. And I was like, man, I would love to do some sort of a Star Wars parody on No Diggity. I'm like, what rhymes with diggity though? And I immediately was like, Kennedy. I was like, oh. and so then I immediately, like, on my breaks, I'm on my notepad, like I've set up the lyrics to No Diggity. And then I'm like, how can I relate this to Kathleen Kennedy? But I also, there is intention when I do this. And that's what I respect about Weird Al is I've read a lot about him and his, like, he said he'll literally like work on songs for weeks and months and like change like one word, like, should I say the or like down to the every little article, it has intention. And so when it comes to that part, I definitely put a lot of thought into it. And I also put thought into, okay, I'm putting this out there for anyone to see. If it's on the internet, anyone can see it. And not that I'm like, oh, I don't want to offend anybody, because that's never going to be possible. Like I put out Mac Nada and I had people like attacking me, like who obviously hadn't seen the video, because it said KK ruined Star Wars. And spoiler alert, KK was my neighbor, Keith King. So it wasn't even Kathleen Kennedy. And people were like attacking, being like, I can't believe you people and your Kathleen Kennedy hate.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
hey,
Well,
watch the video.
And that's where I think a lot of times where comedy works really well is when it can sort of shine a light back on the absurdity of the situation. And what is it, comedy is tragedy plus time or something like that. But you do have the whole entire Kathleen Kennedy kerfuffle nonstop. I hope she doesn't have any access to social media, because she would
Oh my goodness,
lose her mind. But
Well,
but
yeah.
so let's play your No Diggity parody of with Kathleen Kennedy as the center of it. So here we go.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Like the producers, Captain Kennedy. Captain ain't down, good lord. Lady making movies all over town. Whoa. Strictly bitch, she don't play around. Covers much ground, she ain't fazed by the crowd. Getting paid is a forte, each and every day. True producer way. Can't get her films out my mind, no. I think about Star Wars all the time. No, you're right, no, you're right. Poltergeist took an AI, the land before time, Back to the Future line. Whoa. She's got TV in her stash, stacking up the cash, from Mandalorian to Bad Batch. By no means average, Schindler's List, E.T. Jurassic. Kathy's got another 10 before she gives in. She ain't stepping down till the Oscar win. The lady won't stop working. Kathy Kennedy ain't about to pack it up. The lady won't stop working. Kathy Kennedy ain't about to pack it up. The lady won't stop working. Kathy Kennedy ain't about to pack it up. The lady won't stop working. Kathy Kennedy ain't about to pack it up. She's got class and style, street credit by the mile. Kathy's resume's wild. Check her IMDb profile. Watch it, Indiana Jones. Kathy keeps collecting balls. YouTube's absurd, accept it, nerds. Lucasfilm's her, so free what you heard. Make it rain on, rain on, rain on, rain on. Make it rain, make it rain. Make it rain on, rain on, rain on, rain on. Make it rain on. The lady wants to work in. Kathy Kennedy ain't about to pack it up. The lady wants to work in. Kathy Kennedy ain't about to pack it up. The lady wants to work in. Kathy Kennedy ain't about to pack it up. The lady wants to work in. Kathy Kennedy.
Man, it's ever since you sent me the early version of that, I've been singing that damn song, and I've been singing the Kathleen Kennedy lyrics. Not no.
Well, let me tell you, my 5-year-old daughter is in the car every day to and from school because I teach at the school she goes to, and so she knows every lyric to it. And I feel, in a way, I'm proud, but in a way, I feel kind of bad because she also only knows it had to be Luke. And she'll start singing that, and someone will say, "No, it's had to be you." She's like, "No, it's not. It had to be Luke." So anyway,
you're teaching her all the wrong lyrics, but they're all the right lyrics. I
right,
kind of feel
at the same
like
time. It's a conundrum. So.
Sorry. Ba-doom-boom. So that's so you're what's have you had any particular success that you've like been just amazed by or surprised by as it relates to some of the parodies and the comedy that you've done online?
Well, I'm on your show right now, so that's pretty awesome.
I hope this isn't the pinnacle, because if it is, maybe just delete the Twitter account, because it's not gonna get woof.
No, and I guess, I would love to, I think the best thing is, and it sounds cheesy, but just like the friendships I've made along the way. Yeah. But seriously, it's like the friendships with people like you, and just the Twitter community, and on a few Discord servers with some great folks, and just the people I've met, and then ended up meeting a lot of them in person, and all of that, and getting to be on some of these shows and talk Star Wars. I mean, I love, of course, like, oh, that'd be great to have like thousands of followers or whatever, but I really don't care about that. Ultimately, I think it's a dangerous game if you're worried about being liked or having followers. I don't want to be like now if I get that, I'm great with it, and I'll use it to the best of my ability, and keep doing what I'm doing. But it's kind of like just something I'm doing for fun. And if something more comes of it, great. So.
Yeah. No, and I think you mentioned something that we didn't dig into enough, but it's certainly worth mentioning, and that is the Star Wars community. I mean, I say it all the time. I mean, I'm lucky to have been doing this a couple years now, and just all the people you meet. Again, I think the dark side of the fandom, if you will, gets a lot of airplay, gets a lot of conversation, but ultimately the positivity is what keeps us coming back. And I think you're right. Like same thing with me doing this podcast. My major goal is just to keep having fun doing it. And I might have referenced it a couple weeks ago, but I was thinking my dad, he's a bass player. I'm a bass player. And he was, he was doing the bar gigs and things like that. And one night he was packing up his stuff and he was like, you know what, this isn't fun anymore. So I'm not doing it. And I think that's a very valuable lesson. And, as soon as this is not fun, which is why I don't understand the people who are so negative on Twitter. If it's not, if you're going onto Twitter to talk about Star Wars because you don't like it, what are you doing? I don't understand that.
Right. I don't understand that either. I mean, my main goal, I just love, I want everybody to get along, but I like to make people laugh or smile. And so if you're doing something that's not happening, then I don't want to be a part of it, So.
Right. Nope. I totally agree with you on that. 100%. So, well, Cam, I know you do listen to the show sometimes. So you are familiar with the fact that we have this 10 questions segment.
Yes, I was hoping we'd do that.
Oh, of course. So I'm going to hit you with the 10 questions and let's see how you do. Again, they can be long answers, short answers. There are no wrong answers. I won't judge you, but people on the internet will. So it's
I'm looking at this chat room. There's definitely judgment happening right now.
Yeah, it's already happening. You can tell they're already hashtag Cam was wrong. I can't believe that's out there already. But so Cam, the first question is favorite Star Wars movie, TV show, or book. Now that you're reading books, a book may have come into that, but
that's a tough one. But I'm going to stick with The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah. Any particular reason, or is it just?
I love it as a whole. I usually love the middle film because it's where everything's going wrong or whatever. But it's beautifully filmed. I think there's a good balance, and all of my favorite characters are in it. So
yeah, that's great. Cool. What's your favorite non-Star Wars movie? If you're going to sit down on a Saturday afternoon and watch a movie that's not Star Wars, what are you going to watch?
Okay, I didn't prepare for these, so. This is a tough one because the ADD thing. I'm probably gonna have to go with. Well, I like Lord of the Rings a lot, but that's not a short watch. So, let's just go with that. Lord of the Rings.
All right, that's cool. Should I make you pick one of the three films, or just stick with the whole group?
I'm gonna go with Fellowship of the Rings.
All right,
because when I first saw it in the theater, I didn't know anything about Lord of the Rings. And my friends who had read all the books or the book or whatever didn't tell me it was one of three films. And so at the end, it ends. I'm like, that was the worst ending of any movie I've ever seen. And they're like, it's a trilogy, right? I'm like, oh, that was the best movie I've ever seen. So,
No, it's funny. My wife was the same way. We were just dating, and we walked out of the movie. She's like, "I can't believe it ended like that. That's such a weird ending." And I was like, "Well, we're gonna have to come back in a year and see the next one." Oh, right. Okay, that's cool.
Yep. So,
describe Star Wars in 3 words or less.
I'd have to say fun, family, and hope. Those are my 3 go-tos.
Yeah. It's hope is definitely in there. Family is interesting too because of the fact that it's a bit of a 3 different trilogies with 3 different family messages, and they're all super strong. So
yep,
that's great.
I love it, and not only the family in the movies, but what it does for our real families, bringing them together. So
yeah. Yep. Now you said you have kids. Are they Star Wars fans?
Yes, my son's 13. He's really into Star Wars. Like I said, we bounce ideas off him all the time. Only thing he doesn't like doing is filming things in public. If I want to film something, he's like, somebody's going to see me filming. And so, but other than that, he's really into it. And my daughter, she's 5, and she's also really into it. She knows more than my wife. So she'll correct her. My wife was like, "Hey, that's Belle." She's playing with a doll. She's like, "No, that's Princess Leia." She's like, "No, that's Belle," because she had on Belle's dress. She's like, "No, I put Belle's dress on Leia." And so she loves Star Wars as well. So
That's great. Yeah, and to
Love
your point, it's so great when your kids are into it as well. So
yeah.
What's your favorite Star Wars sound effect?
I would have to say the TIE fighter. I
Hmm.
love that.
Excellent. Yeah, it's I've said it before. It's one of those sounds that's, on its own, if Star Wars didn't exist and you heard that sound, it would make no sense. And seeing it and with seeing the fighter and hearing that sound, it's brilliant. It works so well.
It's awesome.
The next question. What is your favorite droid?
Okay, like I said earlier, I'm gonna have to go with R2. Although, oh man, now I forgot his name. Of course, I really like him so much. I forgot his name. In Rebels, the
Chopper.
sassy, yeah, Chopper. I
Yeah.
like Chopper too, but R2 is my favorite.
Yeah. Yep. Very good. Okay, if you could be any character in the Star Wars universe, who would it be and why?
I would be Cam Rebo. I'd be Max Rebo because as a musician, I'd get to play in all these different places. Maybe not, wouldn't just be in Jabba's palace, but I would like to be able to play around and you could watch all of the mayhem or comedy or whatever's happening. But you're kind of, as a musician, you're kind of everybody's friend. Like if you're playing a restaurant or bar or something, typically you can get along with everybody, even when they're not getting along. And so I kind of like that. And you just kind of watch. So you're just playing and it's great people watching. So I would be Max Rebo.
I think
And Max Headroom is who I'm being tonight, evidently. So
it's all right. It's it's just adding to the mystery of who is Cam Ray, because this could just very well be just a video that we're running and nobody
or
really
one of my
knows.
clones.
Or it could be one of your clones. Exactly. All right. Yeah. I think you make a great point. Those of us who are musicians who've played in bars and restaurants, we know that you do have that weird you play a very unique sort of observational role. And I can only imagine what Max Rebo saw happening in Jabba's palace all those years. What is your favorite Star Wars collectible that you own?
Oh, that I own. I haven't been really collecting things too long. A lot of them I've kind of won different contests and whatnot. But let me see. Okay, I'm gonna have to pull it up here. Hold on, just a second. I'll be right
back. No diggity.
I won this Wampa rug. And it's on the floor of my office studio, and on the other side we got a little bit of a playroom. And so it almost didn't make it because it's like you have to get the approval by the other members of the household who are more in charge than me. It's like, what is that thing doing on the floor?
Yes.
Like, it's Wampa. It kind of goes with the Star Wars movie. So anyway, so that's my favorite because it's kind of gaudy.
That's cool.
And ridiculous, but I love it.
I like that. I think every time I see it, I think I want to get my son one of those Tauntaun sleeping bags because I think it's But it is funny, like you said. I mean, this studio here is like it's literally a closet in the spare bedroom where all the Star Wars stuff lives. So
yep. You gotta put it where you can.
That's right. Just shove it in the corner.
Yep.
I have to say it was very difficult to explain this battle droid head away. That was not an easy conversation. All right. So if you could own any spaceship or vehicle from the Star Wars universe, which one would it be?
Oh, wow. I'd have to own the fastest hunk of junk in the galaxy, I think. Yeah. So I've always loved the Millennium Falcon. So that's what I'm going with. I like the sound of the TIE fighter, but man, it looks super uncomfortable. and I like dressing up. And if I'm assuming the capes come with the ship.
Yeah, I think you can
So,
negotiate that into the deal.
okay.
Sure.
So yeah, or Falcon. Sorry if anybody's crying right now. Falcon, whatever.
Han,
Potato,
Hands,
potato.
Falcon.
Let's call it off.
So would you want Lando's Falcon, or Han's?
I'm gonna have to go with the Solo era Lando's Falcon.
Nice. What's your favorite moment in all of Star Wars?
All of Star Wars. Oh, that's tough. Okay, I'm gonna have to say probably when Luke removes Darth Vader's helmet, because I remember that as a kid. Even then it hit me, as I was so happy, and I think it goes with my personality, even with the comedy and wanting to bring people together and for people to get along and everything. It was like, he's so bad. In that moment, it brought him back. It brought him back. He's human. I can't come up with the word now. Yeah, I'm a teacher. It humanized him. There we go.
There you go.
And it's like, man, and he was redeemed. And it's like, okay. And I believe that, it's whatever we do or have done, we can always be forgiven and we can start new. Every day's a new day. And so it really hit me. It's like, oh man, that's his dad. And it really hurt me that he was such a bad guy. And so to see that he came back and that redemption. So, and that's another big message in Star Wars in general, but I think it's a great life lesson too. And so it'd have to be that.
That's great. The last question is, what is your go-to Star Wars quote?
Probably the luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. Because I believe that being a Christian and a spiritual person, I believe that. I think we're more than just the material things around us, and everybody has a soul, and and so I'm like, let's not just treat people like they're like something we can walk over or a punching bag, or it's like every person is just as important as the next. And so that's why that really stands out. Like, we're not just crude matter. Like, yeah, we're made up of matter and atoms and all that, but there's more to us as humans. So
that's great. That's a good way to look at it. And yet we still stay on Twitter. It's remarkable.
Well, I feel like maybe I can do a little good. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, I do have to say you do a great job of staying away from the controversy.
Thanks.
Of course, until somebody gives you a hard time about one of your songs, which I'm sure is on the horizon somewhere. Not to be downer. No, I'm kidding. But Cam, thank you so much for spending some time with us tonight. Where can people find you online and find all your great music and your comedy?
Oh, well, you can find me on YouTube at Cam Ray Semi Productions, and then I'm on Twitter at Cam Ray. So those are the two best places.
Excellent. Well, Cam, thank you so much, man. We will talk to you again soon.
Yeah, Pete, thanks so much. It's an honor.
Awesome. Cool. Well, before I hit the end broadcast, I want to get you to say this is Cam Ray, and you're listening to Around the Galaxy.
All right. This is Cam Ray, and you are listening to Around the Galaxy.
Awesome, man. I'm going to hit end